Okay. Looks like we're live. Again.
Here we go.
Somehow we made it to episode number 2. Here we are. I'm going to light up some cigars. What do you got, Jared?
It's a new favorite of mine. It's A New World by A.J. Fernandez. I mean, it's been a favorite for at least a month or two. It's only like, I want to say like $9.95 or $10. It's pretty good. I really like it.
I was going to say, new favorite, but it has been a while since you've got hooked onto those. New World, new favorite. I'm going to have a cigar I've had once before. EP Carrillo, Connecticut. Found this in the humidor and said, why not? Let's do that one. And I'm going to have some tequila today. Again, I think I started last episode with tequila.
You know me, I'm always with whiskey. Hardly ever tequila, but not opposed to it. Found a bottle of whole tequila in my locker. I have no idea how that got in there.
That is crazy, actually.
Well, it's funny. I asked the bartender before I left. I said, hey, did I buy this from you? She goes, what are you talking about? You didn't buy anything. He's only bought the account on 12 with you, for us and the cigar guys. But, I mean, if I find a bottle of tequila.
That's not the question I'm asking.
Not the question I'm asking, but it does answer the fact that, well, I do have a bottle of tequila now. So maybe I should bring that on the show next week. I'm not sure.
Maybe. What bottle is it?
I actually don't know. It's a brand I've never seen before. It's a Blanco. I would never buy a Blanco, so.
That is kind of weird, yeah. I wonder if someone accidentally put it in there.
Well, it's mine now.
But two, it would have to have been an employee. Actually, I take that back because unfortunately, what we have learned is that some of the keys are the same. So someone could have just happened to have the same key as you and put it in your locker. That's a big coincidence, though.
I know. I mean,
maybe someone bought it for you and said, "Put this in Jared's locker."
But why wouldn't they say anything? Take credit. It's kind of like weird. But I mean,
maybe next time, like you'll see this person and they'll be like, "Hey, by the way, I got you this," or they'll say, "Hey, by the way, I accidentally put a bottle in your locker," and you'll be like, "Oh, well."
But if they were truly a friend, wouldn't they say like, "Hey, I got you some whiskey," instead of saying like, "Hey, I got you some tequila"?
Maybe they don't. Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then on top of that, how do you accidentally put that in someone's locker with my name on it?
It really is a mystery.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but granted, you only asked one person, and if that one person wasn't handling the transaction, then we're really never going to know. Maybe it was promised to you 3,000 years ago.
3,000? I thought it was a little more than that.
Well, it really depends, 3, 4. Regardless, here we are. We're going to talk about, I guess, the most breaking news.
If you want to call it that, I feel like it is resurfaced and rewritten, especially if the
official released.
Yeah, if the mainstream media is talking about it, it's more or less official. In some retrospect, because people will actually listen to it for some odd reason. Maybe that's all they know.
Maybe. I mean, I don't... Well, let's just go ahead and come out and say it. It's Ghislaine Maxwell's transcripts. And I'll say right off the bat, I don't trust a damn word she says, quite frankly. Especially as we get into these details, I think it'll start to really make sense why it doesn't make sense.
Is it the words she says you don't trust, or the fact of the matter is that mainstream media is saying what she's saying? Instead, we're not actually hearing her say this, or actually seeing any of the transcripts in what we call a minute order when you go to court?
Yeah. Well, I guess both. So, hypothetically, if what we're reading is what she said, I don't trust what she said. Furthermore, to your point, since it's not like direct information and we're hearing other stuff from the mainstream media and the fact that I don't trust what I'm reading at the bottom at the end of the day. I don't trust it at all. But it's a topic of conversation regardless, and we're going to kind of discuss some of it. And we put it into key points because most of it is BS already, so we might as well narrow it down to the most, not even educational. I don't even know. It's just key points. But she talks about her relationship with Epstein, and part of this is where I was like, okay, sure. But she said she met Epstein in 1991 through her father, Robert Maxwell. We all know this.
Yeah.
And she said that the romantic relationship ended around 2000, but they continued their friendship until 2015.
These became more of a business relationship, I think.
Interesting.
Or transactional, however you want to put it.
Maybe she was stuck being his quote-unquote friend. Regardless, they were in cahoots after their financial or their romantic relationship.
And when did her dad die? Do we have that?
I don't know when her dad died. I don't know the exact year. You can find that, though. Real quick. She claimed ignorance of Epstein's sexual misconduct until 2008 when the Florida plea deal happened, denied involvement in any illegal activities, describing her role as logistical.
Her dad died November 5th, 1991.
Which is weird because that's
very interesting.
That's the year they got introduced. So it's almost, to me, it sounds like Epstein was almost Robert's replacement.
Well, yeah, precisely. And on top of that, it's more or less, the replaced. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. What you said makes a lot more sense. So it's like he was replaced, then furthermore, now a new relationship has begun. So what are they working on now? And would you say their intimate relationship ended?
She says that it ended in 2000. So
Yeah.
roughly 9 years of a romantic relationship. But my thing, too, is like, it seems like almost an arranged thing. Because the likelihood that, my dad introduced me to this guy and we just happened to, quote unquote, fall in love or whatever, stay together for 9 years and then end the romantic relationship. It's like, it's definitely a big coincidence. It sounds like it was all arranged.
I honestly believe that a lot of photos that they show on the news and mainstream media in general are also post 2000. So we really are missing about almost a 9-10 year gap of what was going on, who are they talking to, and more or less, as you said, a replacement. So it's kind of like, what were they doing at those times? Are they planning all this, or? I guess, when did Epstein's Island really come alive? Like, when did that actually open up? Like, what was the first manifest that we actually have? I don't know if we have that data.
Right. Well, I guess if he was caught in 2018 for sexual misconduct, I'm sure that around that time is when people first started really finding out about it.
Well, bear in mind, he was already arrested as essentially a child predator back in, 2007? Remember, he got off on that. So it's there's a lot of details leading up to this, but it's interesting that the relationship ended post 2000. So something has had happened before then.
Right, exactly. So what she's essentially saying is she worked as a logistical role for his financier business, is what I believe.
Which,
she's
bear
saying.
in mind, becoming a multi-billionaire or a billionaire, essentially, I forget the name. He had one client.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was also a teacher or a professor before that.
A professor, you say, huh? Interesting.
At the end of the day, if the world is a stage and these are all actors, essentially, we're just simply watching a skit play out. So why would Maxwell all of a sudden be incarcerated for the last 1 to 2 years after a trial we have never seen, be open to now speaking? Is this to get out of prison? How is she safe? How is she still alive? And as we learned today, she doesn't believe that Trump was on the list, as well as, Epstein being still alive. Which is what I've been saying for like many months now.
Well, she said that she doesn't believe it was suicide. So she didn't flat out say he's still alive or she thinks she's still alive. She said that she doesn't believe he killed himself, is what she said.
Yeah, I don't believe that either.
I think no one believes that. The question really is he still alive or not? And I know your opinion on it, and it actually does make sense.
Yeah, I think it makes logical sense that he did not kill himself, but also I think it's a great segue to believe that he's actually still alive. I mean, how are you a billionaire with all these connections? You went to prison.
Well, not let's just not say billionaire. Let's say clearly Mossad agent. Is that clear enough already?
Oh, I'm just saying in general, like we just had, P. Diddy with all these charges that no one knew about for the last 10 to 20 years. But all of a sudden when he went to jail, all the charges that were against him are suddenly reduced to virtually nothing. And then all of a sudden he's fine. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think we have to really take into account that is it the wealth or the connections? I'd lean more on the connections.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we've talked about Kanye before. He has the wealth. And granted, I mean, I'm sure he had obviously connections, but to go against them, now you're just relying on wealth. And we've seen that just having wealth sometimes really isn't enough.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, with Kanye, it's a very interesting retrospective because if you kind of look back, they put him essentially in an insane asylum. They gave him the blonde hair, which obviously naturally is not possible. They also debanked him. Chase dropped him. So where's his wealth now? I really don't know. So how is he? Obviously, he can still fund new ventures. He's producing new music. He's still able to thrive, and he's still famous, but he isn't fully taken out.
Yeah.
So when we look at other people who are essentially billionaires, do we really believe that someone like Epstein was actually killed? Do we believe his right-hand man, or Ghislaine Maxwell, so to speak, or not so to speak, actually, I guess right-hand woman is still alive? Yet her trial was never on like C-SPAN or something like that. So you really have to kind of dig in and realize that, like, if we have a public court of opinion, how come no one was able to take pictures of her on trial? And she was sent to prison for 20 plus years on a charge that there was no evidence for. And therefore the names weren't released or anything like that was never released. I'm not saying that, like, if you're a minor, your name should be released. What I'm saying is, where is the, evidence, for this individual that would really solidify her being there? Just like when Epstein, once he was arrested, all of a sudden the cameras are off, and then you killed yourself. How's that possible?
Right. Very coincidental. But to your point, when it comes to the trials, we always see, like, the trials that are on TV that get a lot of coverage are really just bullshit trials. Like the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard one.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Used strategically as a distraction. There was one more recently, too. There's been a few. But it's like, we could see everything about that. Granted, I know that the gravity of the situation is not as important or as, what would you say, as detrimental. But regardless, to your point, I think that there should be more, they should be more open about it, more honest about it. I think that the fact that these types of cases are done really in secret is a problem, regardless of how you want to argue it. It is a problem because how do we really know what's coming out is true?
Yeah, I mean, like, even if Ghislaine Maxwell's trial happened and maybe they didn't let people in the courtroom, they should still have recorded it. So how come?
Right.
So, I mean, if the world...
Like, not even live would be great, but have it recorded and then released later at the very least.
So, from my opinion, is that if the world is a stage, I'm not saying everyone's an actor. People are spectators. Some people are NPCs. We see this all the time. That if that's possible, maybe they're holding something back. Just like with the manifests on the Lolita Express for Epstein's Island. Like, clearly, the Epstein file is being held back for some type of reason. I would suggest that just because you spoke to this individual or you are pictured with them, just like on Cigar Guys, we are pictured with tons of people that we know as an acquaintance, not necessarily as a close friend. We don't know their background. We're just friendly with everybody because we like cigars. But just because I attend a club and I like whiskey doesn't mean I want to fly on the Lolita Express or be involved in anything negative or, anything that breaks the law.
Of course not. And moving further into the transcripts going back towards essentially what I view as her covering for herself and other people. She consistently denied in recruiting underage girls for Epstein or participating in any abuse, claiming no knowledge of the sexual massage or sex trafficking schemes.
Yeah. So with this, I can actually believe a little bit in the sense that we have a Mann Act. I think it's a Mann Act, where if you hire a woman for sex and then she goes across state lines, you get in trouble, which is a little different here because it's an island. Now, for her to say something like that, everyone talks about Epstein Island. The fact of the matter is we really don't know the victims. We don't want to know. We want to make sure they're protected. We want to make sure they're safe. But the fact of the matter is, if there was sex trafficking, we don't necessarily know whether or not they were all underage. There could have been like anyone over 18 that was also involved, whether it's voluntary or not. But I'm simply saying at this point, we can bisect here and simply say, well, what she said was maybe true. It was so plausible, but so weak at the same time. We don't really, you can't believe what she's saying anyways. I'm just saying that not everyone was probably underage.
Right, but she's basically flat out saying that she didn't know about the massages or the sex trafficking in general.
Oh,
taking the underage thing out of it.
So that I don't believe at
right,
all. I think that's a lie.
100%.
But to get her speaking at all, and she's still alive, says more than anything else. And that's where we really want to be right now. I think that if she starts speaking...
I mean, this also goes against testimony of some of the victims that said she definitely had knowledge of what was going on. And she definitely was a logistical role for sure, and not just in the whole financier business, if you want to call it that. But
yeah.
I believe that she definitely had knowledge of what was going on. There's no possible way that you're involved with this person from 1991 to 2015, allegedly, and don't know what is going on. Especially the whole thing where our relationship ended in our romantic relationship ended in 2000, and I stayed with him as quote unquote friends for 15 years. Like, no, they're adults. First of all, that's not how we talk.
So did it go from like relationship to like a situationship? You know, did it go from...
It was a situationship, all right.
Acquaintance to business partner? I think the fact of the matter is she knew there was sex trafficking. I think she knew everything. I think she knows everything.
Well, given her dad's history, her family was already involved in the CIA / Mossad. So if she maybe didn't, assuming she didn't have any knowledge of this prior to that, she's now introduced to Epstein, who is essentially the replacement of her father. Now she's 100% involved, in my eyes. She also rejected the existence of a client list or blackmail materials, which you can argue that there's not a actual list of names, but there's no way that you could convince me that there's no blackmail material or material that you could use to curate a list. So, like, I could believe it if it's like, okay, there's literally not a list that they kept. But I 100% believe that there is a ton of information that you could take and create a list yourself. And the fact that she's saying there was no blackmail material is literally a lie, because how do you explain the painting of Bill Clinton in a dress, first of all? That's just one example.
I mean, we don't have to connect the dots, but I would say that, in theory, if everyone is of age and is consensual, a victim would not want to be announced or their name said because they are a part of that, flight. But what I also would say is that with someone this powerful, and the Lead Express is a private plane, and they're doing a private charter, and he owned it, technically, who's to say the manifest is real at all?
Well, yeah.
So, like, when they talk about, Trump is on the manifest, it's like, what's that supposed to mean? Like, if I take
that could be any flight.
Exactly. So, it's like, if I take a private flight from one place to another, why would any manifest be leaked or be charted down or written down or whatever you want to say? Regardless, it doesn't make any sense that someone so powerful would simply allow himself to be logged. I guess what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, if everyone is saying that Epstein is bringing people to an island to track them, why would the person doing this let themselves be tracked? No one's ever said this.
Meaning Epstein?
Yes. Like, why would,
Well, if he essentially has immunity in that case.
Well, I'm saying
he's
like
the one that's doing it.
If I have a private plane, say if I have a G6, and I say, hey, let's go on a flight to like whatever, Hawaii. Who am I telling this manifest for? It's the pilot, me and you. What are we doing? Why am I telling anybody? Why is this logged anywhere?
Okay, so your argument is that it 100% is for blackmail purposes.
Well, 100%.
Because why else would...
What I'm saying is, like, why would I put my name on something that I'm also implicating everyone else on?
Right.
It's self-implication. Why would you do that?
Okay, yeah. So you are arguing that he wasn't...
What?
You're arguing that... I'm just trying to make sure I understand your argument.
Yeah.
That it 100% was intentional, and he was coercing these people in order to blackmail them.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, like, if this is the case,
yeah,
why would I put my name in the manifest, too? And be like, we have Alex and Jared and the pilot. Right? I mean, like, at the end of the day, why would a pilot be involved unless it paid off? Why would anyone else be involved unless it paid off? At the end of the day, why would a manifest be able to be produced on a private plane to a private island that you owned? Like, I could drive you to my house, but I'm not going to tell anybody about it. We're going to write it down anywhere. I'm just saying, that with this much power and blackmail, why would you let something so loose just come out?
Okay, I see where you're going.
I guess what I'm getting at is that we're to the point now where we have people we're saying in pictures on this said plane that we're like, oh yeah, of course this individual was on the plane. Doesn't mean they're on the manifest, but why would you produce a manifest that would leave a potential breadcrumb trail back to you? It makes no sense.
But if you are, it's essentially, if the goal is to blackmail this person and have enough evidence to show that they were there and that these things were going on, these heinous acts, you need as much evidence as possible to link them to that. Because you can't just say, like, hey, I'm going to tell people that you were there. That's not enough to convince the court or public that
so what you're saying
you were actually there.
To produce a manifest, self-implicate yourself as well as everybody else, everyone's fucked.
Right.
Okay.
But two, as Epstein being the guy who is coercing these people and blackmailing them,
yeah,
under what I believe is the direction of the CIA / Mossad, it doesn't really matter because you have immunity anyway. And that would back your theory where he really didn't die and he's just out there somewhere. So it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If you're the one organizing this and your name's on the list, it's like, okay, well, no shit, his name's on the list. He's the one doing it. I mean, you can't implicate these people and not have someone to blame, so to say, or someone that's responsible.
Yeah, I agree, which also backs the other theory that if they faked his death, everyone's fucked anyways because they do have a manifest with his name on it.
Right, and like we said before, he got it out. He got it easy. He just disappears. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If we all think he's dead, who cares if his name's on the list? He's dead.
Exactly. What's so interesting about 2025 and like the first 7-8 months of Trump being in office is the fact of the matter is no one gave a shit about this years ago, and I didn't understand that then. I still don't understand it now, where they did have video of it, I believe the FBI or someone raiding Little St. James or his island, Epstein Island, and yet no one really talked about it then. Now we have the left and the right talking about it, which is, I think, where Trump wants everyone to be, where we have both sides talking about it. We can get everyone to agree if we did release this, we should indict everyone on the list.
I guess for your theory, at what point do you think Trump would come out and actually push to release it? Because from the view that we are at now, he's trying to not release it.
Well, I mean, I think if the world is staged, for his example would be that not caring, not talking about it doesn't change his position. It's the fact of the matter is that not really talking about it increases the left, especially the left, to be all of a sudden, wait a minute, there's pedophiles? We should go after them. You've never heard any...
Well, especially if it's Trump and the Republicans.
Exactly. So you never heard anyone on the left ever go after sex trafficking or pedophilia ever. There's the first time... I'm 33 years old. There's the first time in my entire life I've ever heard of anyone on the left going after, sex trafficking, especially with minors in general. And I think it's a great thing. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, it took up until this point to get there. Now, my conspiracy under the wraps would be, I hope to God most of this has been stopped since then, because we're really talking essentially 8 years since his first term. How can this be stopped, right? I mean, like, I'm serious. Like, in theory, if we're not arresting people, and he does have all the evidence, and the mainstream media will just say whatever they want to say, that means this has been continuing for 8 years. I hope to God it has not been continuing for the past 8 years.
Which is the problem with not doing anything about it. It's like, if the goal is to get everyone on board, at some point you still have to stop it. Yeah. Otherwise, you are essentially an accomplice in allowing it to continue. Yeah, like, we can't just keep saying these people are bad. We have to actually do something about it. And that's both people on the left and the right that are in office. They all should be held accountable. I don't care if there's an R or a D next to their name. If you are involved in this scandal, which is a light way of putting it, you should be prosecuted to the fullest extent.
What I would believe is that they have brought a big halt to the sex trafficking based on the border and raiding Will St. James back in his first term. What I would say is that as they continue to learn more information, what's above ground and underground, clearly based on his island, we only know so much that's been released, but I would say that I think that they did stop it from what we know. Only to talk about it later, because I believe with a slow drip, there's tons of people that I know that claim to be strong people that are conservative. When I say conservative, I'm not talking about Republican. I'm saying pro-family. So you could be on the left or right. Once again, as I said before,
right.
I don't care who you voted for. What I'm saying is that from a conservative standpoint, that you're pro-family. I don't care if you voted left or right. What I'm saying is that if you do believe that, I believe that maybe most of it has been stopped for what we know of, and they continue to learn more as they progress. As you've seen, Trump has, since the first term, made Guantanamo Bay bigger. And obviously there's not a manifest there of who's being really held. If they're able to hold people who've been sex trafficked, people who are doing the sex trafficking, that is what we want to be sent there and interrogated. We want to put a hold on a lot of this stuff and really get a grasp on what's going on, and then get them to spill the beans on the others and really spread it on, and then end the whole thing entirely. Because we don't want to we don't really want to cut the head off the steak, so to speak, and end it entirely, but we don't want to cut the tail off and let it grow back.
Right, but as we've seen here with Ghislaine Maxwell's wonderful testimony, which literally implicates no one and doesn't bring any new information at all, it's like, okay, so how do we actually find people that are willing to squeal legitimately, and how are we able to trust that information? Because I don't trust a word she's said so far.
That's great. That's a great point. So my personal opinion, I feel like that she's being held right now as a symbol of it has been stopped. Because how do you hold Epstein's right-hand individual, and yet it continues? Which would mean there's a Epstein 2.0 or somebody else. Like an example, Weinstein in Hollywood is a very small fish. I think everyone did something to acquire something to be able to be a part of Hollywood somehow. Unless like Rob Schneider, which I don't think he necessarily did anything wrong, he gets excommunicated, right? People who were involved with Weinstein were never attacked individually. Maybe they were attacked by Weinstein.
They were are you talking about the quote unquote victims?
Yeah, what I'm saying is, like, if you're a victim, you're also now a multimillionaire blaming him for sexual abuse, and they put him in prison. I'm not saying what he did was correct. What I'm saying is the fact of the matter is now he's in prison, yet you're still a multimillionaire. At the end of the day,
Right.
People that were involved with Epstein don't come out and say, well, yeah, I'm part of Hollywood music industry. Now I'm a millionaire. And I'm doing great.
I guess with the whole Weinstein thing, it's like at the end of the day, you still agreed to it.
Exactly.
In order to get to your position.
Yes.
Again, like Jared said, not saying that what he did was right or, it was definitely wrong.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as to the degree of Epstein.
Yeah. No. Once again, I'll backtrack a little bit. I'm not saying anyone who's associated with Epstein is a bad person. I'm not saying anyone that had to do something to get where they're at now wasn't wrong. And I'm saying what he did wasn't wrong. What I'm saying is it's essentially safer to come out against Weinstein now, because if he did it against Epstein, who I think is a much bigger fish, the consequences are much deeper. I forget the person's name.
Which is the whole point of the whole... You're being blackmailed because
yes.
You're not a victim in this case. You're also a perpetrator. You are an accomplice to it.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, it's like if we all stole from the same orange tree on the same land and one person knows about it, we're all going down. It's not just one individual. In Epstein's case, most people, I think, want to believe that it's all underage. I'm not saying it isn't, but I think that everyone would go down. I think that's where that needs to happen, where they get one person that's public to kind of branch out and push that forward. What's very interesting about all this bullshit is that if you look at all the different individuals of the mafia, especially in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, once RICO became a thing, it took a while for that to even be used. Yet they've never tried RICO on a case like this, where they can essentially get everybody for being involved. So there has to be some entity or some individual preventing someone of that to tell on everybody else, to bring everyone down, to bring the house down, so to speak.
Well, maybe too, the people that are really behind all this, obviously they don't want this information to get out, because then they can continue with the operation. So the people that have their hands involved in this don't want this information to get out. And part of my theory is that maybe even Trump is incapable of solving this problem. Because the way I see it is, I don't believe that Trump was... Let's put it this way. If you believe that Trump today is compromised, I don't believe that he was compromised from the beginning. I think it would have happened later on. So if Trump is truly not compromised, the people that are working under him and with him 100% are compromised. And to believe that Trump himself would look into all this information himself is kind of a dumb thing to say. I believe that he has to rely on his people being in his position, which is why everyone was so excited in 2024 that he was surrounding himself with all these people. And then I look at all these people and say, okay, well, if they can just compromise those people, like his cabinet or all his aides and stuff, they don't need to directly compromise Trump, because his entire team is compromised. Taking away the argument that Trump might be compromised or not, we're assuming that he's not. But if you can compromise everyone around him, it's almost the same thing. Like if you bring up the Israel thing, he doesn't know jack shit about Israel. Like, let's be honest with you. He's just doing what he is being told, what he believes is right. But at the end of the day, that's a whole other conversation.
Personally, I wouldn't go that far. I think, like, I'll be very honest. Like, if you ever talk to an individual who votes Republican and they do not do the research, just like a Democrat, two sides of the same bird, they will always vote down the line. And so with an individual who does not want to do their own research, what you find is that they're so polarized to think one way. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but at the end of the day, without doing any research, like the average Republican today would probably vote for JFK, but like since JFK ran as a Democrat, they probably would not, right? So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, people who do their own research will find a better way to modernize the way they vote. So coming into today, and if the world is a stage, which I believe it is, I think some things have to happen on their own timeline. For example, with the Epstein stuff, as I said before, no one really talked about it that much other than what quote unquote the mainstream media would call a conspiracy theorist back when he was first elected from, January 20th, 2017 up until the pandemic bullshit, right? So at the end of the day, there's so many distractions. There's so many things happening. People have to really stay focused on not what the mainstream media is talking about, but what's actually is happening. Like personally, I don't care about what anyone says. I watch what they do. I think people vote with their feet. We can easily see what the people are doing based on where they go and what they're doing. I think at this point, you have to realize that someone like Trump can't just come out and personally say, especially with all the lawsuits against him that he usually wins via appeals, you can't just come out and say this celebrity or this person from the music industry or Hollywood. You can't just simply say this person was on the Lily Express.
Because they'll come at him with like slander and libel.
Yeah, a libel lawsuit, which is ironic because in any lawsuit, you have to produce evidence which would either implicate them, and they would never do, so therefore they have to stay silent, or they become indicted. I think that's the main reason why you don't see much of this. And also, too, it's like just because I showed up at your club and there's a picture taken, I don't want to go to prison for life because I'm an associate of you, because someone took a picture. Maybe you're the bouncer. Maybe you're the club owner. I don't know. Maybe about bottle service, from a bottle girl. And all of a sudden now, because I showed up and my credit card was swiped, now I'm connected to a negative entity I didn't know about. I was just drunk that night. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
At the end of the day, I think it's pretty clear. I think certain things have to be released in time. I mean, like I said before, for the first time ever, you have an individual, I believe from District 17 or 18 from California, Ro Khanna, came out and said, we got to release the Epstein files. When have you ever seen someone from the left ever care about Epstein or ever care about trying to get rid of pedophilia or sex trafficking or anything? That was amazing to me. I've never seen that before. I didn't think that would happen in my lifetime. I thought mass arrests would have already happened. But then again, if that happened, it would look very biased. So you have to get as many people on board as possible.
I guess, but too, at the end of the day, if you are doing the right thing by arresting all these people, does it matter what the ill-informed public thinks?
Yeah, but I completely agree with what you're saying. But what I'm saying is, if he arrested Hillary Clinton in his first presidency, people would be like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, that I agree with. But since he's in his final term, it doesn't make sense to me why he couldn't do that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that then the next president can undo and pardon the individual who's claimed to be a sex trafficker. Well, it has to be believable on both sides.
I guess so. But then they could do that regardless of what the public believes. But then you just keep prolonging it and nothing ever happens anyway.
Yeah, I agree. But my personal opinion is I think people are so stupid. I think most people are dumb on the left and right. I'll be very honest. Because most people are so happy with the headlines they get from AI news or the mainstream media, or they read on Facebook or Twitter or now X. It confides in them, I'm in the know. And if they don't read, then they're not informed. But they do read, now they're misinformed. So what do? Cognitive dissonance would allow you to separate a good from bad or do research on their own.
I agree with you on this point. If you are at this point in your life, at this stage in 2025, if you are diehard Republican or Democrat, you're an idiot. You need to be able to, like Jared said, take a step back and actually look at what's going on and not just vote down party lines. So if you're a diehard red or diehard blue, you're an idiot. I don't apologize for that.
I think Alex can attest to this. I stopped watching the Daily Wire years ago. I think that a claim to be conservative news network that is fully on the right side is not representing how I would personally vote. I think that being able to allow people from both sides to be able to speak is always correct. Yeah. I think being able to differentiate depending based on your opinion and back that up with factual evidence. When I say evidence, I'm not talking about what the headlines say. I'm talking about, did this happen? Was someone indicted? Can we have, records in court to verify something going forward? And even then, as you saw with Trump's case, and he was just appealed and won that appeal for Letitia James, the Attorney General in New York, you can say it's factual, that she claimed he overvalued his properties. Now, that wasn't true. He didn't have to pay that, and he won in appeals. It's all about a waiting game, and all the fact you have to wait for the facts to come out later on. And regardless if you vote left or right, once again, it happened in a blue state and a blue city. He still won the appeal. So even if you vote left, you can't sit there and say, well, it's Trump this or that just because he's president, all that bullshit. You can't say that. I mean, it happened in a blue state.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, what more and more people are realizing is that it doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or Republican in office at any level, the agenda still goes on. They still have their way of making certain things happen. So that's what I think a lot of people are coming to realize, is that it almost doesn't matter who they put in office. They still have enough power to move forward with their agenda. I did want to get into a little bit more of this. So regarding people that were involved, Maxwell discussed social interactions with figures like Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrews, and Alan Dershowitz, and Les Wexner, among 50 to 100 other individuals. She described Trump as a gentleman with no inappropriate behavior in her presence, denied seeing Clinton or Andrew in compromising situations, and characterized most encounters as superficial, social, or business related.
Even Andrew?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, people can still argue Trump either way. I think most people today would be surprised to hear that Trump was not caught in inappropriate behavior. I mean, we've seen that Trump has been inappropriate before. That's just a fact. But to say now that Clinton or Andrew, meaning Bill Clinton or Prince Andrew, that she's unaware of any compromising situations with those two people is a whole nother level of insanity. Especially Bill Clinton. I mean, we know what he did in the White House. You're going to tell me that outside of the White House, he didn't do anything remotely inappropriate?
We should also separate inappropriate behavior from consensual and above age. So it's like, if this individual wanted to have relations with somebody, they could have. I'm not one to judge at all. What I'm simply saying is, if it's legal and consensual, we have no say. But it's probably inappropriate in the public eye, especially as a politician. But I also believe that just because we're hearing from the news, Ghislaine Maxwell is saying this, doesn't mean we're actually seeing it or hearing it, especially with AI and other things. I mean, the irony is, which we already talked about prior to the show, is that if they wanted to kill Epstein, a billionaire, why wouldn't they kill his right-hand individual, Ghislaine Maxwell?
Right. I guess, too, it goes down to, like, how do we know what she's saying is what she actually said? And if it was what she actually said, how do we even know that is true? So there's so many levels of, like, bullshit that you have to figure out.
Even then, you're virtually gonna, I mean, in theory, if we knew nothing about her, the very simple aspect would be, you're gonna say anything against anyone just to lower the time you have to do in prison or get out. Right. I mean, like, no one wants to do time.
But she hasn't implicated anyone, so it's like, okay, maybe regardless of what she says, she is gonna get a lesser sentence, because according to these documents, they're making it seem like she really did do nothing wrong. So if their whole idea or their whole plan is to essentially say, okay, well, we caught her, turns out she didn't do anything wrong, I guess we'll release her, or maybe get her on a really small charge that we can get her on. So she's out regardless, and there's no reason for her to snitch on these people and implicate anyone, because she essentially has an out just like Epstein did. Except maybe not as concrete, but she still has an out regardless. Because like we said earlier, the people that are behind this operation don't want it to end. So they don't want to release any information. So they go to her and say, listen, you don't have to say shit. You're going to get off regardless. We just want to make sure that no one else gets indicted for this or implicated in the actions that happen.
But then I also believe the opposite. So if they allowed Weinstein to go to prison and not his brother, which is wild, they, for some aspect, they do allow individuals to take the fall to offset the blame to allow operations to continue. So
Exactly.
in this retrospect, going back, why not blame a single individual, let them take the fall, and then continue the operation?
Because if, let's say you implicate Epstein and Maxwell and like it's 100% it happened, okay, but you can't have a crime without, well, first of all, you can't have a crime without victims. And in this case, the crime is essentially being that you're blackmailing these people by allowing them to commit crimes. Like, you can't just say, let me put it this way. You can't have Epstein without clients. That's the simplest way I could put it.
Always remember, you can always have crimes without victims.
Okay, fair enough. But to this, yeah, that is true. To this example,
Yeah.
you can't have Epstein without clients. It just doesn't make sense. You can't say that he was in charge of a sex trafficking operation with no victims and no clients. That makes zero sense. So you can't blame one individual in this situation because there were other individuals involved. There just legitimately has to be.
The irony here is that what I believe is that Epstein is actually so powerful that why not let him take the fall and do, like, especially at his age, like 25 to life in prison, right? They said he died, which I don't believe. Why not let him just take the fall in the whole thing here, just like with Weinstein of Hollywood? They think that the sexual harassment ended with Weinstein in Hollywood, which no one believes. Why not let the sex trafficking end with Epstein? I think the whole fake dying bullshit keeps people on edge. They want to know the truth, right?
I
What
guess.
do you think? What do you think?
I mean,
Why not end the
I just
loop?
think that, like you said, because this is a much more complicated situation and it has more weight to it, it's more complicated than just, having Weinstein take the fall. Like, we have Weinstein take the fall because, it's really not a big deal at the end of the day. But with this operation being what it is, it's not as simple as just allowing Epstein to take the fall.
I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, like, prime example. Before Ron DeSantis, they had an individual get caught with, like...
Hookers and coke.
Yeah, hookers and coke. And all of a sudden, this individual disappears. He'll never be able to run for politics ever again. I'm not saying he was set up. I really don't know. But it's a very strange situation. But with Epstein, why not end it where this individual's going to prison for life, then somehow fake his death or get him out of prison?
So you're saying that if they have a fall guy, they can continue to do it anyway.
Exactly.
And you think that,
100%.
right. But I just go back to the whole, if you have a fall guy, you still have to prosecute the people that were accomplices, the clients.
You see this in the mafia all the time. That's why I go back to RICO, where it's like you always have a soldier or two, maybe a consigliere or a captain in the mob where they do like 10 plus years where they just disappear. And then all of a sudden, a mayor comes down and says, hey, the crime's gone down. People forget about it. With Epstein, it's like, why not arrest a few people or put them away? And then all of a sudden, we got them. And then they put a headline out. Everyone forgets.
Maybe. I just think it's more complicated than that. Because
Yeah,
with
but
Weinstein,
we know it's more complicated, Alec. What I'm saying is, like, the public doesn't.
I don't know. The way I view it is like with Weinstein, he can take the fall, and at the end of the day, the people that he was involved with are labeled as victims. So it's like, okay, there's just one person committing this crime. Whereas with Epstein, even though you can argue that the public either doesn't care or doesn't know or doesn't want to know, I just don't think it's that simple.
I mean, it's not that simple. What I'm saying is for the public reads headlines. So if you put it out there as something simple, we got them. like Weinstein Hollywood. Like there's hasn't been another individual coming out saying like, oh, this other person maybe do this such thing, so I'd get a role.
Yeah.
With Epstein, it just kind of went away, but it didn't because people don't have answers. No one's been held accountable. I think like.
So maybe, if your theory is correct, they're trying to find their out right now. They're trying to find someone to blame. But at the end of the day, can you really... Is Ghislaine Maxwell the person to blame? Like, can you really pin it all on her?
No, I think either she'll get out or reduce sentence or increase sentence, because what will happen is...
She'll kill herself too.
Well, that's a great point, because, like, why would you not protect the person who knows everything that worked right alongside you? That's the biggest thing that holds me back. It makes no sense logically. Because, like, if you want to protect your operation, you either kill them off to close up loose ends, or you bail them out somehow. Like, buy off a judge.
So maybe they can't kill her again because it's too obvious, so they just go to her, like I said, and say, listen, you don't have to say anything. You're going to be innocent. Everyone else that was involved is going to be innocent, so you just have to say nothing, and we'll get you out anyway.
Yeah, but for someone that powerful, how are they able to incarcerate her for such a long time? It's not 24 hours. It's not like, oh, we dropped the case. She's been in prison for at least a year or so. 2 years.
Well,
like
like you say, we haven't actually seen any video or pictures. So is she even in prison at all?
Exactly. So that was my next point. That's a great point, Alex. So, like, just like they said Epstein died and they thought it would go away, now they thought, well, maybe if we arrest Ghislaine Maxwell and put her in prison, this whole thing would go away.
Right.
But it didn't go away.
So you have Epstein's dead and Maxwell's in prison, and both of those things could actually be very incorrect and very false. They could both be out there somewhere, and we're just still arguing over.
Here's the deal. If you did something against a minor, someone's gonna fucking kill you in prison, right? We know about this. We see it all over TikTok, YouTube. We see this on like Netflix documentaries. It's gonna happen. How come this didn't happen to Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
Well, it did happen to Epstein.
Well, that's what we were told, but
right.
No, it didn't. It actually did not. You're wrong, because they claim he killed himself,
yeah, exactly.
not someone killed him.
You're right. Yeah, but I mean, too, we're to assume that Maxwell is under serious protection and essentially isolated. She's not just in like some, max security prison with a bunch of other people. She's being held supposedly isolated, under protection, because they can't allow her to die, is the story. Meanwhile, she could be out there with Epstein having a friendship. Which, ironically, she says she expresses her regret and association with Epstein post-2008, which is when she found out, quote-unquote, of his sexual misconduct. But she maintained her innocence in her convictions and claimed that her trial was unfair, which is wild. Of all the things, the fact that this trial is unfair. She hinted at hoping for a reduced sentence or pardon, but did not explicitly request one. So she's trying to paint herself as 100% innocent, even though she had a relationship with Epstein from, allegedly, 1991 to 2015.
I think there's things that she can say and things that she can't say. If the White Hats are truly in control, she can only say so much to make the mainstream media put out a few articles, a few documentaries, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe like anything she's saying.
No. I think at the end of the day, the whole point is this information came out. Who's to say that it's real at all? Obviously, no one believed that Epstein killed himself, and no one believes a word that Ghislaine Maxwell is supposedly saying. I think this whole thing, in terms of what we're seeing, is not real. I believe that Epstein was real. All the quote unquote clients and victims were real. These things did happen, but what we're seeing now is not real. What they're allowing us to see is not real. It's all staged, and they're hiding the truth from us once again, because you can't tell me that the mainstream media lies, but they're not lying about this one thing. At the end of the day, you can't look at what the media says or even listen to what the government is telling you and just take it as truth.
Yeah, I mean, especially since like her trial, like no one had. I mean, like, oh my gosh, I just blanked. Like the Trayvon Martin case in Florida was highly televised. Everyone was talking about it. That was a single individual about a single individual. With Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, we're talking about hundreds of victims. And
according to her, 50 to 100 people.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like even then, this was never televised. There's no documentary on it. You can't talk about it. Netflix didn't come out on this. Someone you cannot criticize has to be in control.
I think the main reason why we're quote unquote allowed to talk about it now is because we're talking about the fake part of it. We're talking about the stage portion of what's going on. Like, so now if we talk about what happened in Epstein Island, it's like, well, it's not real. It didn't happen according to the government. So that's why we're quote unquote like allowed to talk about it now, is because they've covered it up enough to where the layman will just, look the other way, I guess, or not care.
Yeah, we do have footage of what I believe the FBI raiding Epstein's Island. But besides the point, but
it's too late by then.
What I'm saying is, like, if the world is a stage, it's one or two things. She's either been arrested a long time ago, and you're hearing a drip of information over time.
Right.
Because if someone were to say, well, we arrested Jeffrey Epstein, multi-billionaire, and has implicated half the music and Hollywood industries, people would say, that's crazy. But if it happens over time, people start believing it. Like, it took forever for people to come out against Diddy, and yet this individual had a reduced sentence. We cannot have a reduced sentence against a sex trafficker. We have to have the full thing.
No, I 100% agree.
So what do we do now? I think that slow dripping information allows people to fully understand the extent of what was going on, but we also need the evidence to be able to prosecute. I think that is a slippery slope. It's also tricky because anyone who's been pictured or featured with them looks bad, especially with AI. We're in 2025. Anyone can produce a photo that looks like someone's also implicated.
I just don't think that there's really anything, quite honestly, I don't think there's anything we can do, because the people that are involved are protected by the people that are orchestrating everything. The people that were involved are essentially pawns being used for an agenda. And the people that are truly in charge have so much power that there's really nothing we can do, because you can't just vote these people out. They'll put new people in, and nothing will ever get done.
So do you believe the same prosecutors that were controlled, that didn't fully implicate Epstein back in 2007, 2008 in Florida, are still controlled today?
100%. And I think that
Florida and Texas, the reddest states ever, are still controlled.
Yeah, like I said before, whether it's red or blue, I don't think it matters. I think that they still have control regardless. I don't think that you can just vote these people out and vote new people in, because these people are so powerful that they can either put who they want in office, or they can get to them after the fact. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of these people we see in the limelight that are currently controlled, I think a lot of times they got to the position they were in and were approached later and compromised later. And then you have everyone else who was just compromised from the beginning, or they were just put in there because they were already in on it.
The thing I do have trouble believing is, like, do you think our current governor is compromised?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but when did this happen? This is the... we really have to take more of a look at at how it's happening in real time and not just looking back, because we'll never be able to guess the future.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's like, what really can you do to stop it? Like, this is so beyond us.
You can't stop it, but if Ron DeSantis is serving a 6-year term, right, I believe, for governor.
He's currently in his 6th year. Well, I guess currently in his 7th year, because elections are next year. He would be out in 2017 or 2027.
So I guess what I'm getting at is that when we see either a compromise approach, maybe he isn't.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he was compromised from the beginning, given how he entered politics. It's usually the people that are polished from the get-go that are inserted, and it's the people like Trump that were not really polished. Like, people say all the time, like, Trump was a bad guy, like, in terms of his conduct or whatever, he wasn't like that perfect guy. Then he got to where he was, and then they got to him later on.
I wouldn't say Ron DeSantis has been polished from the beginning, because, I mean, Jesus Christ, we had masks in Florida for some time. I think he has to play ball sometimes. I think that even with the Trump versus DeSantis bullshit was all a stage. There's what I believe, just like with Elon Musk and Trump, there has to be some sort of differentiation in which they play a game to help make sure the mainstream media is thrown off, as well as everybody else. But like us, we clearly see that they still work together, but is not part of the mainstream media. So when it comes to Ron DeSantis, what do you think?
I mean, I think that anyone that ran against Trump in 2020 on the Republican side was compromised.
Yeah, but like, we've been friends for a few years. A greatest way to fuck with everybody would it simply be, I run against you and say, you're the worst person ever, I could do better. Yet, behind the scenes, I'm funding you and let you win.
That's fair, too.
Because at the end, I mean, like, prime example, look at New York. Are you fucking kidding me right now? We have a young kid who knows nothing of life running as a communist. Yet, you have the previous mayors, or a previous mayor running, and also a previous governor running. Why would he downgrade himself from governor to run as a city mayor? It's all a stage. They want to dissect, I should say bisect the vote, split it, because you can't run as a Democrat. Independent is essentially a Democrat.
Well, you essentially have 3 Democrats running against 1 Republican is essentially what you have.
The Republican running in New York doesn't matter. I mean,
I know, but what I'm saying is you have a majority of New York City voting for these 3 Democrats. You're taking the votes away from the Republican.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which Republican wins. We kind of know, it doesn't matter which Democrat wins. And we can already assume which one's going to win. As long as they're taking votes away from the Republican CWA, then they've completed their mission.
So that's a great point. It brings me back to like when Bill Clinton ran against George H.W. Bush. We had Ross Perot running as an independent, which is so silly to me because it always pulls votes from the Republican Party to allow the Democrat to win.
And maybe that was all part of the plan.
That is what I believe. I'm not saying he's a bad individual, but what he was told, what he did.
Well, too, at the end of the day, let's say that wasn't his intentions. He's being inserted in there, and his team is, and everyone that's essentially like his handlers is saying, listen, you have a clear shot at this. And then realistically, you get 1% of the vote, or 5% of the vote, or whatever the case is. And then he's like, man, I really thought I had a shot. It's like, oh, man, I did too. Tough luck.
Oh, man, it sucks.
Right. So at the end of the day, even if the individual is not specifically in on it, they are being used as a pawn for a greater agenda. So my view is every single person in government compromised, specifically themselves? No. But at the end of the day, the system is compromised, and no matter who you are as an individual, they can still use you to push their agenda. Even if you're unaware of it and you're not doing it yourself, or you think you're not doing it yourself, the same results will still come at the end of the day.
And I mean, once again, like I'm not pro left, pro right, but right or left. What I'm simply saying is, at the end of the day, what we see is pretty simple. If you're compromised on either side, the powers that be still win. So, going forward, what you see, like for example, Dan Crenshaw, the first representative of Florida, oh my gosh, Texas, my God, oh my God, complete fucking loser. I'd box this guy today. I'd fight him.
At least you have two eyes. You have an advantage.
This guy is such a loser. I'd fight him today. I don't care. I would fight him right now. I'm so bored. I'm so bored and
angry,
disgusted. He represents everything America stands against. Yet he runs as a Republican.
He's a traitor.
Pure example of a traitor. If treason, if this was the 1800s, he'd probably be hanged. Let's be honest. He hates America. He was in the military, which, God forbid, I don't know how the fuck he survived. He must have been...
Well, you have McCain, for example. Like, these same people kind of...
I agree. What I'm saying is McCain was there for years. Dan Crenshaw's a young motherfucker.
Right.
Dan Crenshaw's,
but
I think,
it's
my
still
age.
a similar situation.
Yeah, but we're talking about someone twice age. I'm saying Dan Crenshaw...
The problem...
What, 10, maybe 4 to 10 years?
Yeah.
He's young. He's very young. And to be so compromised, and he just won all of a sudden, makes zero sense to me.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, think about it.
So he's an example of a plant.
Well, 100%.
He was inserted.
He was inserted, and he has no clue what the fuck he's doing, clearly, but he's paid to do so. And how is he still operating makes zero sense to me.
Because he's protected.
But by who?
By the very same people that put him in there. And again, it's all a game. You have two people running. One's a Democrat, one's a Republican. They both work for the same people. So at the end of the day, it's like, well, he's running in the Democrat that's running in this Democrat-controlled area. Obviously, he's going to win. But by some off chance, people are mad at him, or he gets caught in a scandal or something, we still have the opposition win. And what we find out is that there's no such thing as an opposition. They're all working for the same people. Like we said, left wing, right wing, it's still a part of the same bird.
Well, exactly. So, what I guess...
And to go further into that, if you can convince the public that it's always going back from left to right, it looks more organic. It's like, well, yeah, the Republicans are doing good. Now we don't like them, so we're going to vote Democrat. Okay, now the Democrats are not doing good. We're going to vote Republican.
So
the public believes that they're actually making a difference and that it's their choice.
Exactly. So, if I was born in the 60s or 70s, I believe what Alex said. But today, oscillation doesn't matter. I don't believe in a pendulum swinging left or right. I believe that what we're seeing now is the fact of the matter is, like, prime example, from JFK to, I believe, George H.W., there was a majority votership where entire country went blue or entire country went red. And what you're seeing now is like, oh, someone won by 100 votes, or we had to do a recount, or some fucking bullshit, some dumb fucking bullshit of like we had to recount because the machines weren't working. And it makes no sense, but it creates a drama effect where you're in this situation of like, oh my gosh, we're so close to winning.
Yeah.
And you believe the person you're voting for is going to do exactly what they promised.
And to your point, I don't believe that there's actually as many people voting Democrat as they make it seem.
No.
Because I believe most people actually, lean conservative or lean right. They just don't realize it, or it's not public information, and it's not being put out there that there actually is a huge difference. But to your point, they're making it look like it's so close because that keeps the polarization present. And like you said, it's adding drama. People are glued to their TVs, and they think that, we have to really, really fight to make a difference. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Even if we have, let's say 1 to 3, 1 being Democrat voters and 3 being Republican voters, they still make it appear as if it's close, and they still get to put whoever they want in office. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. I forgot what I was going to say.
I think it's a disappointing reality, but it's just true. Problem with you is you're a problem solver, and when a problem presents itself that you can't solve, you get pissed.
I'm trying not to get mad. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is
no,
that,
Jared, we should be mad. We should be royally pissed. This is the one problem that we should be really, really upset about. This is fucking retarded.
You know, I mean, when cable came to life, we had Bush running, and it was the first time ever in a public eye we had to do a recount. I think against Al Gore.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because both of them were both in Skull and Bones, which was announced on TV.
Exactly.
And it's ironic to me how you are friends with your enemy, yet you're running against them, which already gives you the answer that they would do the exact same thing, where everyone blames a Republican for being a neocon, where they'll always fund the government to have more defense. But all of our main wars come from the Democrats because they always want to, let's just say, disrupt a new area. But the fact of the matter is, we are the United States. We should never be involved in a war. We can help people, but funding a war or giving weapons, to me, is being a part of the problem, and I don't think that should be the case.
Right. No, in the position that America is in today, you know, just looking at it from a very superficial standpoint, there's no reason America should be in war at all, because it's such a powerful nation that they can essentially do whatever they want. There's no reason for us to be in a war or be involved in the war. The only reason we are involved is because there's something for us to gain out of it, or a new area to control, a new psyop to create. So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. In an ideal world, it doesn't make sense for any of us to be in war, but here we are, still fighting.
Which brings us to 2025, where when Trump was president in his first term, there were no new wars. But will he kill the Ukraine war? What's going on with that?
Right. And at this point, I have no idea.
This is the most bullshit war I've ever seen in my entire life. This is not like 9/11, let's go invade Iraq to get oil or to continue investing in poppy seeds for heroin. This is bullshit. We have a dumb fucking leader in Ukraine bullshitting about nothing. He doesn't even wear a suit to anything, which I don't even care about.
The one time he did, it was an all-black suit. You couldn't even tell.
I guess what I'm getting at is that how fake and how dumb do you have to believe the actual Ukraine war, where they speak Russian anyways, and they do not like Russia, yet what are they holding back to fight against whom? There's nobody that can protect them other than the United States or to fund them. And with U.S. aid going away and the funding, they only have minerals and the resources they have, which they should have relied on in the first place.
Maybe that's the end game. Maybe part of it is, okay, well, when we do have to eventually end this war, we just get the minerals anyway.
Which I agree with you. I think this is Trump's long game, where at the end of the day, once he resolves the conflict, the minerals come back to the United States and they lose everything. I think someone like Zelensky, who's obviously a paid actor, he used to dance on TV
with his dick, playing piano.
I mean, regardless, what I'm saying is, like, if the world's a stage, he's a prime example we're talking about. Where, why?
Yeah, why is he even
he loses
the real thing
in the end? I mean, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, once he concedes the land to Russia, and it's all over, his handlers will drop him like a hot potato. Why? Because he failed. And then he loses everything. So he gained nothing but a little bit of fame. Now he'll be a failed leader, and then no one will respect him anymore. Now it's all over. So what do you do then?
Maybe he still has the Bugatti at the end of the day.
I mean,
unless his wife takes it.
I think
I think we should wrap it up.
You think so?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right.
I'm hungry. Didn't mean to cut you off, but we'll go on for another hour. Anyway, that was fun. I hope you had fun too.
Yeah.
I know you're going to have fun on TikTok, Instagram, at Real News Guys. So much fun in the